Welcome to CS Week Women in Utilities webinar series. I'm Lisa Collins with CS Week, and I'm your host today. I encourage you to go ahead and register if you have not registered for CS Week and Conference 41 to be held next month, May 22nd to the 26th. Discounted registration pricing ends May 14th, so you'll want to take advantage of that nice pricing offer. This program will be recorded and available for playback along with our other archived presentations this afternoon. You will find it by selecting the Women Utilities under the Webinars menu choice on the csweek.org homepage. Attendees are encouraged to upload questions to the Q&A panel as they arise. However, all questions will be held until the end of the presentation for the Q&A segment. And please ensure that you address your questions to all panelists so that we may all see them. Today's webinar is Profiles in Excellence, Utility Chief Customer Officers. And today we're spotlighting Penni McLean-Conner, our author and speaker. So Penni is the Chief Customer Officer and Senior Vice President for Eversource Energy, an electric and natural gas utility providing service for more than 3.6 million electric and natural gas customers in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. She is a recognized thought leader in the utility industry and actively serves on industry boards. She's a sought-after speaker at conferences and is an accomplished author. And it is my pleasure to welcome Penni to join us today.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much, and welcome to everybody on the webinar. I really appreciate you spending a few moments of your busy week with me this afternoon. And I look forward to discussing with you Profiles in Excellence and Utility Chief Customer Officers. And in fact, what I would like to explore today with you, of the 8 profiles I did in my latest book, Profiles in Excellence, Utility Chief Customer Officers, 3 of them are women. And I think they provide instructive backgrounds for all of us in their career paths and how they develop leaders and in how they create a customer-focused culture. So I thought I would review with all of you a few of these 3 women, these amazing women, talk to you about what they've accomplished, and then we will open it up for Q&A. Just as setting the table to talk a little bit about the book from a bigger picture, it was published in October by CS Week Publishing, and it features profiles of 8 Chief Customer Officers from the utility industry. They represent companies that are investor-owned, municipalities, and cooperatives, so we have a broad range. It features CCOs who are at small companies and large companies and represent a variety of backgrounds and approaches. So I think that if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to take a peek at it. Each of the profiles, all 8 folks profiled, I focused in on their career paths as part of it, but the main 3 areas I talk about is how they create a customer-focused culture, how they develop their people, their teams, and what products and services that they are delivering and providing for their customers. So those are the big segments. And some of you may have even been involved last, maybe a year and a half ago, when I was doing some market research for this concept. I was testing it out in Charlotte, North Carolina at CS Week, and I added the piece on career paths because I had so many folks, as I pitched the concept, say yes, but we'd want to hear how they got to where they are. So I added that, and I actually think that's one of the richest parts of the book, is listening to the profiles. In addition to the 8 profilees, the book is, as I say, bookended. There are chapters at the beginning and the end that are instructive. Chapter 1 really talks about chief customer officers in the utility space and what they're focused on. And really, this is a theme across all of the profilees that I've pulled together. So if you want to get the cliff notes about kind of the big picture stuff, Chapter 1's the chapter to read. The final chapter is a look forward. So with each of the profilees, I explored what keeps them up at night? What are they worried about as they are thinking and moving forward? And that final chapter is that look forward piece. So that's kind of an overview of the book, Profiles in Excellence. And as I said, I do encourage you to take a peek at it. The picture, the image you're looking at is the book cover, both the front and the back. It features a star, and we talk about these CCOs being all-stars in their roles. And the word clouds you see in a star actually are the words, this is the omni word cloud as I call it. These are the words that employees of the CCOs and bosses of these CCOs use to describe them. So with each Chief Customer Officer, I had the opportunity to interview their direct reports and to interview their boss, and I took those notes and identified the common words that were in there and placed them in a word cloud. So each profilee has a word cloud within the book that's unique to them, but this particular one is the Omni word cloud. And I think it's instructive because what you see there is customer in the center, but you also see vision, which you would expect from Chief Customer Officers that they're setting the vision. You would see employees very clearly here. All of them have a focus on the employees. CX for customer experience. It was clearly where everybody is moving. It's not customer service anymore. It's the experience. You see some descriptors of these folks. They have passion. They're calm. They celebrate. They are easy to work with. So these words kind of highlight some of the Omni themes around there. So with that, let's move forward and talk a little bit about our first profilee, which is Marilyn Caselli, I believe. And if I could get this to move, can we move that one slide ahead? My ability to do it does not seem to be working. Up, there we go. So our first one we're going to review is Marilyn Caselli. So let me tell you a little bit about Marilyn and Con Edison. So Marilyn is a 40-year plus employee at Consolidated Edison. Consolidated Edison serves electric and gas customers in the city of New York. They serve several million there. I've got the number right in front of me. Close to 2 million electric and another million or so in gas. So 1.1 gas, 3.4 million electric. And if you if you have the book and could see Marilyn's word cloud, hers really features some big words there are customer, employees, operations. She's one of the few that features operations so boldly in her word cloud. And she features development. So let me talk a little bit about why those are in there. Obviously, the customer, we would expect the customer to be centerpiece for all of these CCOs. The employees, as you read Marilyn's profile, it's clear that she is passionate about her team and she spends a lot of time with her team and she really values the voice of the employee. But operations, Marilyn is one of the few that I profiled. Let me see if the only that I profiled, maybe one other, that actually worked in operations. She, in fact, was the first woman vice president in gas operations. So she was a real groundbreaker, and she believes and is passionate about having the collaboration between the customer team and the operations team in delivering service. And I think all of us in the utility space understand the power of that tight collaboration between the customer group and operations. And she, because she lived it, she understands it really, really well. And that's why it's so prominently featured in her word cloud. Some highlights, you see her focus here. She has a relentless focus on incorporating the voice of the customer in all you do. That's a device that she is providing to all of us as aspiring customer leaders in the utility space or in any space. But as I reflect on how Marilyn and the Con Edison team has incorporated a customer focus within their culture, I must say that their approach using what Marilyn calls +1 is a very powerful tool. So let me take a moment to explain it as I understand it. But +1 is a common and shared training that every employee goes through, and the basic premise is that any customer experience can be neutral, it can be positive, or it can be negative. And the goal at Con Edison is that every experience is a +1. It is a positive. So the way they've built this culture within their organization is they have invested in training for every employee, whether they're in on the legal team. I met with, actually had lunch with the lawyer, one of the legal folks from Maryland's team that I had worked with in getting, obviously, paperwork and other things signed to do this book. And she talked about going through the +1 training, or I'm in the field, or I'm in the call center. So they did not narrow it to just customer-facing employees, but every employee in the company goes through +1. And the concept is, whether I'm dealing with internal customers or external, the Con Edison really drives to achieve that +1 experience. And the training was not one and done. What they do to keep this concept alive is +1 is the narrative that they use in everything that they do. So if they are celebrating success of an employee and they have over 1,000 what she calls applause boards, which are Cisco screens, TV screens essentially, all at every work center in multiple places, and these screens share stories, success stories, +1 stories of delivering service to customer. They also share other messaging, but this is one of the core techniques they use to share their stories. And one of my favorites that Marilyn mentioned to me as an example is that, as an example of a +1 experience, is a call comes into the call center, and the woman is rather distressed, and she's talking about the fact that she had been out on the streets in New York City, and her wedding ring had fallen off and fallen through the manhole. The customer service rep got information about where the customer was located, where the situation occurred, worked with operations. They have a system where they can send an order to operations that's considered priority, and they were able to retrieve the ring within 24 hours, and they shared that story back out with all employees. But that would be a +1 experience, something that the customer obviously was delighted about. So I wanted to share about how Marilyn does the customer experience. There's two other things I would share about Marilyn. The second is her career path. She has a fascinating career path, and she is one of 2 of the 8 I profiled that started at the company from the very beginning. And she started as a journey person, as she describes it. She started as a customer service representative in the call center, and she notes that she was very fortunate in that a president of the company at the time took interest in her and noticed her and suggested that she had a lot of potential, but that she needed to get that education. So she set about to do that. And this is a not only a working woman, but a mom with, I want to say, 2 or 3 children. She's a very successful woman and a mother, but she moved ahead and got her degree, and then moved forward, as I said, moved into this first, vice president role in the operations side and the gas side, and spent time there, came back over to the customer side. But she had another moment on her career path that was instructive, and it just goes to show, because she would say she didn't have former mentors, but she had a lot of people who took interest in her and gave her guidance. And so during her career, she later on in her career had another senior executive take interest in her and noted that Marilyn she's quite gifted at speaking and very articulate, but she also had a very strong Brooklyn accent, and he suggested that she work on softening that people might not be able to get beyond the accent, and she did that. And so today you see her as the Chief Customer Officer, a Senior VP at Con Edison, very successful. And while she still maintains the nuance of the Brooklyn accent, it's certainly it's lovely and not overwhelming. And I think that was probably her goal. The final thing I would share is that she is focused on her employees. She spends a lot of time with them. She makes it her business to be, that's what she says, it's my business to be at every celebration. I want to know about them, and I am there at them. And she located her office right in the middle of her customer team. It's right there in the call center floor, so she can be as part of the business. So she really is engaged with her team. She holds these breakfast meetings every month with employees, frontline employees, where she gathers input from them to hear what's going on in the business, and that's one of her ways to keep her finger on the pulse of what's going on. So a little bit about Marilyn, and in respect of time, let me move forward to chat about Carol Dillon. So if we want to move to her slide. So Carol Dillon is at Portland General Electric. So if you have been to beautiful Portland, Oregon, you know it is a lovely service territory and serves 840,000 customers. They are still vertically integrated utility in that space. Carol, her quote here is, "Customers are transforming to meet their needs. Investments in processes and technology are needed." And Carol really models that in what her work has been as as head of customer and of customer strategy for Portland General Electric. In her case, by the way, she does not have the title of Chief Customer Officer, but she has those roles and responsibilities. And in the case of Portland General Electric, and Carol's belief is that that it's everyone's responsibility. So she works to engage the entire leadership team in delivering with the customer versus potentially having just one person responsible and having that title. So that was kind of her answer on that. The areas I'd like to explore with Carol is certainly her word cloud, talk a little bit about it, but then talk about her career path, which is also instructive, the way she is delivering products to her customers, and the customer strategy, which is Carol's strong suit. She is a strategic person. This is what she's all about. So if you were to see her word cloud, which is featured in her profile, customer again is centerpiece, but right there with it is vision and stories. This one's so important. She is a storyteller, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. She has a reputation for being very focused, for being engaged, and for developing roadmaps and plans to move forward. So those are some of the terms that I heard as I met with her team and as I met with the folks she works for at Portland General Electric. From Carol's perspective, moving forward on the customer experience strategy, she really has been a groundbreaker there. She recognized that at PG&E they needed to look from the outside in with their customers, and so they actually have spent time really mapping out from the highest level and then down to journey mapping the customer's experience and what they want the customer to feel like. And the intended customer experience, and I'm going to read this because I think it's so powerful. They have documented the intended experience, and it says, "In every interaction with PGE, I feel like I actually matter. It's surprising to feel genuine and authentic care from a utility, but they make me feel special, like I'm their most important customer. They're easy to do business with any way I choose. They know me when I interact with them. They actually remember my history and what I like, and even anticipate cool things I might need. They help me make smart choices about energy in an ever-changing world. I'm impressed with PG's commitment and advocacy for the long-term strength of our community and a sustainable future. They're a great neighbor. Now, I think what is interesting about this intended customer experience is that, as you noticed, it's written from the customer's voice and describes from the customer's voice how their interaction, the vision of how it should be at PG&E. This intended customer experience was the first foundational element that Carol really drove as part of her overall customer experience strategy. And then she surrounds sounding that core intent, which is then, as you can imagine, used to drive how they re-engineer every process, whether it's a billing process or a payment or a new service process. They're using this intended customer experience as their touchstone. But she has surrounded that intended customer experience. She's built it out more by also putting in frameworks, including personas. And she, and this is unique, I had not seen this with the others, she's actually created a space where the personas are visible in the room, and their perspectives, the personas meaning personas for the customers, and the perspectives from the customers in their voice is also written up. And this is called a design room, and this is often where, if they are transforming a customer experience, they'll do it in this room where they're surrounded by pictures and the voice of the customers that they serve as presented in those personas. So really very mature in their approach on the customer experience strategy. Very impressive. Let me pivot on Carol to talk about her career path because I love this story. Her son actually calls her the Katie Couric of the utility industry, and he says that because Carol was actually in the news business and was the anchor of the evening news in Portland and was well on her way moving through that industry to moving right into New York City. We might have seen her on the Today Show in the future had she continued on that path. But Carol, and I found this with several of the profilees, they are so grounded, and she was grounded in her family, and she came to the realization as she's moving through this career and this journalism, and it's fabulous, and she's got this anchor role, that the next move, though, required her to move to, I believe it was Las Vegas. And then after that move, it would have been another move. And for her, that wasn't going to work. She needed the ability to raise her son and not have this disruption associated with her career. So she deliberately pivoted into the energy business. And she came in as a spokesperson, as you might imagine, because she has media relations. And it was right at a time when Portland General Electric was dealing with some challenges of a nuclear plant that there was a lot of protests against. And she worked on that campaign to successfully keep that plant open at the time, and then moved into other roles. So what I like about her career path is you see this balance of family and career, and the deliberate choice in her case to abandon a very promising career in media because it just wasn't right for her overall well-being and her overall goals that she had. So I think that is fascinating about Carol. The final thing I would speak to on Carol is around, in her case, the delivery of customer services. And as you can imagine, someone who has spent this much time looking at and talking about the customer experience strategy, that they would also be investing in transforming their experiences. And I find Portland General Electric is very open to testing and piloting new things, and I was not surprised to hear Carol talk about that. So one of the ones that I think is so fascinating is that she's very passionate about the challenges we're facing as a business, as an industry, with other players getting between us and our customers. And because of that, she's very interested in how do we develop that relationship with our customers and help them with their energy usage in their homes and businesses. So not surprisingly, PG&E is piloting, has a partnership with Nest thermostats, and they are piloting direct load control using those thermostats. So it's the program's called Bring Your Own Thermostat. It seeks to enroll 3,000 to 5,000 customers and has a goal of a 1 kW reduction. So so this one, they are looking to partner with customers whose homes are already equipped with Nest, and this project is underway. I'm looking forward to hearing updates on it. But Carol and the team really thinking about the players that are out there in the homes today, which are not the utilities. They are the Googles, they are the Nests, they are others, and how do we partner with them to create even better customer experience. So that's a little bit about Carol, Portland General Electric. As I said, she's a strategic person. She's built in this customer experience strategy and has the framework built out. She has an amazing career path that took her from media relations into the utility space, and she continues to lead Portland as they're known for this innovation. So with that, let's move forward to Joanne Fletcher, Burbank Water and Power. So Joanne obviously represents a municipality. The Burbank Water and Power is a lovely and sweet service territory, but very small. It's 53,000 customers in the Burbank, California area. And with Joanne, what I wanted to cover here with you, the three perspectives, was her career path, because as with all of them, it's just been, I think, my favorite part of writing this is hearing about their career path. But I want to talk with you about how she develops people, because this has been a game changer for what she has done at Burbank Water and Power. It really is through the people. And then as we think about the customer experience culture, talk about the tools and investment that they have made. So Joanne's word cloud features customer service, but what I love in her word cloud, and it's the only word cloud that features this, is tough. And I actually checked with her if she was okay with me putting that in, but I can't tell you the number of times that phrase came up and what they mean by that. And they also said she's a leader, she has a business sense, she's responsible, she's humorous, smart grid shows up. But the toughness plays out in that she holds firm to her convictions, and if she believes it's right for the employees, she stands up for it. And employees really appreciate that. They like that. But it's also reflective of some of the, when you're in a municipality, and some of you on this line, on this webinar today probably know this, that part of your responsibility really for any of us is to be out there and sharing what we're doing in the customer space, and sometimes that can be unpopular. So in her case, she was the face in the public meetings as they put in AMI, which had quite a few naysayers at the time, and often not well-behaved naysayers, as sometimes happens when you're dealing with the public. So, but she persevered. She was able to represent Burbank Water and Power well. She knows and can articulate very clearly about why this investment is so powerful, and she's done so successfully. So, so I think it's interesting that the actual word tough in there is very appropriate for her, and in a very nice way is how they mean it. So the career path, so let me start with Joanne's career path, and she did not start in utility space. So another one that did not start in the utility space. And she would, I don't know, she uses the word randomness in her career path, which I think is fascinating. So I don't know how many of us would say that our career path is random. But in her case, she started in really more in public policy. She has a master's degree in public administration, and she was working in that space, doing work for the city of Pasadena and for others in public administration. But in her personal life, needed to make a change, and decided to move into the utility space, because the city of Pasadena, the deputy city manager, was so impressed with the work she was doing in public policy, he recommended that she considered getting into the utility space. And she actually was doing some consulting work for Burbank Water and Power, and that's how she ended up there. So her consulting work at Burbank Water and Power impressed the general manager at Burbank, and the window was opened, and she was hired for a newly created position as the administrative officer. And she was their first female manager at BWP. So, and what she came into, as she said, was this division between water and electric, and the division between suits and the field crews, and that was her job, was to fix that culture. And if you go on to read her, she is so just candid about what worked and what didn't work, and how she really tried some things and they didn't work. She's very candid about that. But and she admits, she goes, I knew nothing about customer service, but I learned very, very quickly. So she was very successful in her role, in the administrative role, and so that's when they put her in charge of customer service and marketing. Because her boss, general manager, noted that they needed bold leadership and they needed a change in that space. So that's kind of her career path. And as I said, she used the term random about that because it seemed that doors would open for her. I mentioned that I wanted to chat about how Joanne develops people, and I think this has been just a real centerpiece for her. She found that her employees were in they did not have job families, there was no career paths, and this was a huge disengager, right, for employees, because I don't see a path where I can go, largely union, by the way. So she worked to transform the organization to fewer job descriptions, more job families, and career paths within those job families. And it really has just taken off. People have flourished under this new structure because they see opportunity, and she's created and invested in the training for all those employees. And I loved she shared one example of one of the biggest challenges is helping her long-term employees keeping up with the new ways of doing business, because, as you know, and we're all faced with this, right? We've got more mobility coming in, and we're asking our employees to in the field to be digitally connected all the time. And her comment was that the employees haven't changed, we have changed. And so she really takes it upon herself that we being the company, need to be held accountable to provide training and support for our employees as we transition them into these new ways of doing their job. And that's on us, because we're the ones changing. So her development of employees, this just meeting with her team, that just echoed so clearly how impressed they are with what she's done there. Let me close on Joanne with the customer experience culture. She does create a focus on the customer service. She measures everything. This is well noted. She loves measuring and she loves seeing the results. And she also is a big believer that you need to provide the tools. And so she is a big proponent of AMI and how that has really transformed how they do business and how they interface with their customers. But she also has invested in CISs, and she actually, and I would not have believed out of 8 interviews I would meet 2 that were over 2 CISs, but 2 of them were, and Joanne is one of those. She implemented 2 CISs. So I think that's very unique in the business. By the way, both of them won CS Week Awards for success in implementation. So she implements a CIS in about the 2006 or 7 time frame, and then realizes that the system they put in was not being supported anymore, was becoming very complex and costly to support it, and the resources weren't there to support it. So she recommended that they change out again, and I believe it was last year that they won, or maybe the year before, that Burbank Water and Power won again for CIS implementation. So she's not only done it once, she's done it twice, both times ahead of schedule, under budget, and delivering on the system. But she is passionate about providing both her employees and her customers with the tools that they need to deliver the best service possible to their customers. So as we think about Joanne, it is our municipal aspect here, small customer service base, but very engaged in providing those customers with information. She is a leader that develops her people, has a passion for that, and she has a personal career path that I think, candidly, I love her candidness that windows open, and I really didn't expect them to open them, and I went through them, and I took advantage of it. And so she has a bit of luck there, a bit of randomness. So let me just wrap up and thank and open it up to questions at this point. But as we think about these profiles and excellence, I think these women are instructive in that they come from different backgrounds. They, in a case of Marilyn, moved up from a customer service rep to that senior VP role. In the case of Joanne and Carol, came to it from an outside perspective, coming into the utility space, providing their expertise. They all have unique characteristics, and yet they're able to deliver for their companies a customer experience and transform that experience so that customers are able to do business with them in an easy and fashion. So with that, I will open it up to questions that you may have for me.
Terrific, Penny. That was just incredible. I really enjoyed hearing the deeper insights into these leaders in the utility industry. We've had a couple of questions come through. The first one was, not surprisingly, but was, what surprised you in working with these chief customer officers and telling their stories?
What surprised me was their passion about their employees. All of them at the core believe that that's really the game changer. It is having an engaged team, and so we can provide the tools, and there's no doubt we need those tools, but it's the employees and having that close connection with them. I think the other piece that frankly surprised me was the story of Carol Dillon switching careers. That happened time and again with several of these, that the grounding that these leaders have and what is important to them, and that is not necessarily career related, meaning they're looking at it from a holistic perspective. It is not about optimizing their career, it is optimizing their lives. And their lives are more than their career. It's their family, it's their extended family. One of the ones I profiled, Dave McKendry from Hydro Ottawa, he had an amazing career. He is like this executive and in the telecom business, and he gets given bigger and bigger jobs. The problem was the bigger and bigger jobs kept him moving and moving and moving. So he moves from Ontario down to D.C. and he has great success. And then from Ottawa down to D.C. Then they give him a global assignment. He's working out of Australia. Then they want his whole family to move permanently to Australia. So they move, and he describes him and his wife and their 2 kids and their 4, Tupperware boxes of stuff, and they carry it to Australia, then they carry it to Singapore, and he goes, it's like this magic carpet ride, but it had to end. My parents were still in Ottawa. My kids weren't getting to know their grandparents, and so he completely left the whole thing. And I just think that's remarkable. And it played out time and again that it's not about optimizing their careers. It's optimizing their lives, and their lives are more than just what they do at work.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that kind of teed back to Carol's decision not to go down that path originally too. So segueing on that, the next question that has come in is maintaining work-life balance, and I think the question is directed to you. How do you maintain work-life balance, both personally and for your staff? So
the work-life balance for me and my staff. I am very fortunate that I work for a great company. Eversource is fabulous about supporting you and making those important decisions. But for me, work-life balance, I have some measurements on it. I like to make sure I'm spending time with my community, with my work, with my family, and with my spirit and faith. And so I try to make sure all of those come into play, and I have some measurements on that. It's and there's times when things get out of sync, and so I look at work-life balance in the broadest perspective. It's not a day-to-day thing because every day isn't perfectly in balance. And sometimes days in a row aren't in balance. Any of us who can say storm know that days in a row can be completely out of balance and completely tilted towards responding to our customers and working. But I look at it in a bigger picture, and for me, some of my measurements are, am I taking time for myself? And I typically measure that by ensuring that am I finding time to go for my runs or go to the gym, or ensuring that I'm spending time thinking and processing and just meditating on for myself, that space that I need. I look at if I'm spending time with my family and friends. And my measurement here is how many things am I turning down? Do I get invited? How many book clubs do I miss during the year? Which, fortunately, I think I've only missed one this year. But if I start missing a bunch of those, and they're once a month, if I can't find time to be with some other amazing women in my town, that probably says I'm a little out of balance if that happens over and over again. Or if I'm turning down, opportunities to go out with friends or family. If I can't find time to get down to North Carolina, I've probably got a little bit out of balance. So I think that for me, it is about finding that time that I can have that downtime, be with my family, and spending that time on myself. From the big part of the career, and it's not for everyone. My husband and I had children later in life, and the downside to that is you probably don't have as much energy. I have a 10 and 14-year-old and at home today. But the upside to that is you're a little bit more settled in your career and have a few more resources to help you. And for us, that meant au pairs. And so some of you may have seen me back when my oldest was younger. I'd schlep him, and the au pair would go with me to CS Week and other events. And the second one didn't get that opportunity quite as much, but it was a wonderful opportunity to spend time with him and have them go with me. So, matter of fact, my oldest was talking about that the other day. He was remembering the time we had it in the Gaylord in Orlando, and I brought my at the time, I think he was 5 or 6, and we extended that to go over to Disney, and he still recalls how fondly that was. And I said, and do you remember, McLean, how you were politicking then to come back? And he had this new angle that if he had a baby brother, we would definitely have to bring him back. So, and he got that wish. So he has a baby brother, and we brought him back down there. but I do, I wouldn't have been able to do that in my 20s, that type of thing. So that was, we made a decision to have children later, and that was the benefit of that. But there's downsides too.
Okay. Well, good deal. I think that's great, the way that you've kind of had a really good, just a good, like you said, a holistic sense of, what does that mean for you in general, your whole life and work, career, and everything. We've had another question come in. It says, there's quite a couple of them, Penny. What is one takeaway that you learned from these leaders that you are implementing at Eversource?
Oh, that's a great question. And I'll tell you, well, there's a lot. I mean, this is like, inside baseball, right? I got to tell you, I love the Con Edison story. And Marilyn was so generous in the Con Edison team. I was so impressed with their story. We took a team down there of other executives and spent a morning with them, and we are stealing shamelessly. They were very generous with their ideas and input. But one of the ones specifically, this voice of the customer, they really put me over the top on the need to do online panels. So Con Edison has 10,000 customers on an online panel that's managed, and they use that panel to test out, that panel will test out new website functionality, they'll test out new marketing messages, they'll test out new ad campaigns. They switch out that 10,000 customers every 6 months. That out of that 10,000, I think there's a couple of thousand that are actually employees. So this panel includes employees, and it includes residential and business. And they just spoke to the fact about how that helped. They showed their website, and literally how that image, that front page, which really features 2 sections on it, was all driven, not only the look of it, but what it says, all by those panels testing over and over again. And they just really believe it was a game changer for them. So that's one of the ones that we have built into our plans, and I'm hopeful to be able to put into place this year. Actually, I would like to.
That's nice. Yeah, I did read in your book that it's like business community or advisory community is really a wonderful thing. We had another question come in. It says, were there qualities you saw in the female leaders that you interviewed that varied from the male leaders that you think are important for women to focus on in their careers?
Well, I don't think I thought about it that way. So if you'll give me a moment to think through the male leaders versus the female leaders that were different.
I'm a little stumped by that question too, and I read your book.
I know. I don't think so. Each of the leaders has different strengths, and they came at things differently. But I didn't get a sense that there was something,
like gender related
related between the men and the women per se. I didn't pick up on that nuance. I'll think more about that. I'll have to process that one. If I come up with something, I'll tell you in Fort Worth, because we're going to talk about this again in Fort Worth in a different perspective. We've got 3 of the profilees coming in Fort Worth, but I don't recall anything off the top that stood out to me.
Okay. We've had one more question come in. This one says, I would like to know the top 3 things that keep employee morale up in the event of organizational change, especially if said change might involve downsizing or unexpected reorg.
Employee morale up in the event of downsizing or unexpected reorganization. So I I will answer that more from my perspective and how I've worked with that over my career. And for those of you who don't know, my career spans now, gosh, sadly, 30 years, and working at Duke Energy, Tampa Electric, and now here at Eversource. And at Eversource, indeed, during the past, we merged with Northeast Utilities in 2012, and we've reduced the team size significantly since doing that, and within my own group and within the entire enterprise. And so there's been some tough decisions. Example, we had 2 bill print operations, and as you can imagine, probably 2 is at least 1 too many, and in a business that's really not a printing business, we're a utility company, 1 might be too many. And so indeed we made the decision that 1 was too many, 2 was too many, and now we have none. And so we have had decision after decision like that. We've had to make hard choices. And yet, within the customer group, our engagement survey results are higher than the average for Eversource, and really look more on par with some of the, even though we're an operational group, and there's 1,200 employees that I have on my team, there's very high engagement. We had in New Hampshire implemented AMR and reduced the workforce by 50% up there. So we have had some significant changes, and yet our engagement and satisfaction has outperformed Eversource and continues to be, according to, because we compare on norms, at a good level, even competent within other industries. So we actually compare, our survey, I guess, has questions that are compared against other industries and companies. So it's not in a danger range. Not to say that we don't have things to work on, because we all, if you've all done employee engagement surveys, there's always areas to work on, and we work on those areas, and we've seen improvement. So what's the difference? I think that for success in that, and let's take the AMR. AMR, you're going to reduce by 50% in an area in New Hampshire that candidly has not as many job opportunities. How are we going to do that? Well, it was about, in our case, being clear about the business case, being very transparent about that, and it was working up front with union leadership to develop a plan of action of how we were going to take care of these employees, which included supporting them with training and retooling, and developing a plan for, as we had attrition and maybe attrition ahead of when we needed it, that we could bring in contractors to fill vacancies so that we could minimize the impact. And in fact, because we had started to, we actually worked on the business case and working with the union about 10 months ahead of starting the project. We actually had we started holding vacancies and filling them in with contractors, so we had a good base. But we reduced by, in a 2-year period, by 50 folks, and fortunately we're able to transition most everybody, including some of those contractors that came on board, into other roles. They had time to retool. Some chose to leave, some chose to get trained into other fields, some chose to move to other roles. But because we had time and transition and transparency, and we similarly approached the bill print in the same type of manner. Where you don't have that flexibility in that time frame, it becomes harder. And I think it is about seeing the big picture and what the company is focused on, and being very clear, and that these are hard decisions. And I think it's about, in my opinion, showing a plan and having empathy for what folks are going through, and having the support systems there for them. So whether it's outplacement or other pieces, so that they can transition and successfully into something different, which may not be with the company. But and for everybody who's left, it's about also being clear about that business case, and being clear about what we're doing for those employees who are impacted. I spent a lot of time in New Hampshire. I spent a lot of time with our team in the customer group talking about why we're making these changes, and they're made with thoughtful deliberation and with thought about how we transition. So I think to the extent you've got the time and the ability to share that, I think it ends up being a much better result at the end.
Very good. We've had another question come in, speaking to the future. What do you believe would be the biggest challenge to either creating or maintaining a customer-focused culture?
Biggest challenge. I really think we are faced with this is the best time to be in utility customer service. I'm telling you, that is so exciting. And I think what we gotta hang on to is the transformation is so rapid that we're dealing with. The transformation of our customers as these millennials enter the workplace and their expectations, the transformation of the technology, this Internet of Things, the ability of chatbots, the ability of Alexa and Siri, and we're leapfrogging here in technology, and it's happening right in front of our eyes. And then you got the whole transformation in just the business model of the utility. So I think the challenge for the customer-focused culture is helping our employees understand how it has transitioned. Even what we say, we're not focused on customer service. It's the customer experience. It's about creating that +1. And so I think you've got to, how do you keep it? You've got to be constantly messaging. You've got to share the success stories, and you've got to provide measurement and feedback back about how we're serving the customer in ways that are meaningful. So, for example, when we put in iFactor and the new capability to give meaningful estimated times of restoration to our customers proactively, I mean, it was a game changer. And we created concurrently, we trained all of our field employees about why it was important, and now we're providing them feedback area work center by area work center on what we call a quality ETR, meaning that it wasn't changed more than, I believe, 2 times, and we review that. And this become kind of this bragging point with operations if they have 100% of ETRs that are quality. So because they can see what they're doing and they get that the customers are impacted. And so I think that's the real golden nugget. How do you keep it? I think it's about when we can create the information that we can have conversations in our tailgate sessions, and that those have an element of the customer. It's not just about me setting up for the next job, but that I actually I'm in that tailgate session, have information about how this impacts the customer. I think that's the way you keep the customer-focused culture going forward.
Oh, very good. Well, I think we have time for one more question, and this one is going to be a little bit selfish. And this one's from me on my behalf. You've written on energy efficiency and you've written on customer service, and I'd like to know if you're planning on writing any other books, and so on what topic.
You know, this is one that I want to explore at CS Week, and if folks have feedback they want to send me on this webinar, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear what you would like. I really think this profiles framework, when I came up with that, the idea was I could profile all types of jobs. So what would be the next area you'd want me to explore? Is it profiles and excellence of customer service representatives? Is it profiles and excellence of chief information officers? Is it profiles and excellence of working moms? I had that one suggested the other day because I like this framework. And so if any of you have seen the book, if you take a look at it, if you like the framework, let me know if you like it enough to say, you know, I'd read another one, and here's who I'd like you to spotlight. I'd love to hear that. Very good. Very good. Well, we're nearing the top of the hour, Penny, so I want to be respectful of your time and of the attendees and conclude promptly. But I do want to remind everyone that next month we will have the Women in Utilities reception at CS Week. It's going to be Tuesday evening at 6:15. We invite you to come. Hope you're registered. Hope to see you there. And also to let the attendees know that Penny will be in the exhibit hall for book signings. And you can buy her book online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and we'll have some on site there as well. And so with that, Penny, I'd like to just give it to you for another minute or so to any last words you'd like to share with attendees, or we can go ahead and conclude. Well, I just want to thank everyone for taking your valuable time. I hope it was helpful to you. It's certainly been just a fun book to write, and I love talking about it, and I love talking about these amazing leaders. So I hope it was helpful to you, and I hope you have a great day.
Well, thank you, Penny. We did, and we also want to thank our webinar sponsor, AAC Utility Partners. And with that, we'll conclude the webinar.
All right. Thank you. Bye.